From raw pedals to a mounted steering column, we've built this driver's area piece by piece. Now it's time for the final touch of fabrication. This week we're crafting custom column side covers and building a precision fit base that our upholsterer will later transform into a finished cover. And stick around, because we're also showing off a killer garage upgrade that turned out amazing and is a must-have for any DIY fab guy. This is where bare metal meets big progress.
So I'm honestly pretty satisfied with how this turned out. All we got to pull off now is clean up this connection. I guess we might as well stay on task right here at the steering wheel and do this side lever and maybe decide how we want to close this in. But where we are going next, I can go ahead and tell you, is we're going to go to the shifter. So, man, this feels good. Look at that though. See, like it's in my knees. Look at that. Bring it down. Man, dude, we feeling like a car. Do it up a little. Man, that feels good. That pedal is a little bit too high, maybe an inch. But we need the stroke, so we need to be able to stop it. I'm happy. I'm happy with myself. I really am. It feels good. I'm just be cruising, working the pedals. And I don't think this cost us anything besides when we went to the pick and pull. You remember that previous video? What we paid at the pick and pull, it was like under $100. Steering wheel, I think it was like 140-ish, 130-ish. So we should be like, with the metal for the brackets, we should be like $250 in master cylinder, brake pedal, gas pedal, steering wheel, steering column, tilt and telescoping. And that's Hydro Boost brakes. I think 250 is pretty good. I'm ready to cruise this thing, man. I'm ready to cruise this thing. All right. Let's focus on the side piece and trying to start to maybe figure out how we want to kind of clean this up a little bit. All right, so this one's gonna be easy right here. It's not gonna be too hard at all. I'm thinking on this one, what we're gonna do is we've got 2 holes up here in the top, all right? And then we have this. Now this piece, it needs to turn, as you can see with the wheels turning. So you can't actually attach anything to this piece. Kind of like your clock spring in your vehicle. It's actually the wires that run through to your buttons. If you don't know how steering wheel works, it's wound up inside of a clock spring. And so your steering wheel has enough room to turn, all right? And the wire is still not bind up. So we basically we can't attach something there, or it would, as it spun, we'd have to have so much excess material or whatever that it wouldn't bind up and it would just look bad. So all we need to worry about is the slinky and the up and down. All right, so basically what I'm thinking, I told Troy, is a shifter boot, all right? And being I have these 2 bolts, I'm thinking flat bracket up. So flat bracket up like this, all right? And then we'll plasma cut a ring that's flat also, that literally will sit up behind this flush. And then our front of our boot right here can bolt or be upholstered to the ring. He'll take the steering wheel off, he'll take the hub off. The ring will be perfectly behind the hub. He attaches his material to the hub, and then he attaches his material to the piece that we have down here. That allows us to completely go in and out with it like scrunching up, and then allows us to also completely move up and down. So that part of it is gonna be super easy. It's not gonna be hard at all. The second part that is a little bit more is how much of this down here do I want to cover up? I want to cover up quite a bit of it. So I'm thinking it needs to be to like right here. All right, I don't know, what is this piece for? Let's see here. When we loosen that, okay, that pulls it out. Okay, that's what locks it in. All right, so we can't undo that. So it only locks it on one side. All right, so we need our metal to about like right here, or upholstery. I'm thinking I want to kind of do metal and paint it to match the car. Let me brainstorm for a minute, and then I'll show you what I come up with. All right, so that's what we come up with. I don't think that's bad at all. By the time that's all welded in and painted and matched with the dash, it's not bad. Now, when Troy stopped by the other day, we talked about we are going to have to remove this probably for something with the console that we're not there yet. But when we do that, we may have to kind of remake this or cap a piece or something. I don't know. I really want to keep this, but we'll see. I probably need to go ahead and order the piece that starts flowing the console. So we can kind of figure that out, but that can always be done later because the dash does come out. So we had to keep a little bit of space over here because this rod right here does move. As you can see, there is a rod there. All right, so we needed that to be clear, and we needed that to be clear. This is where our bracket's gonna come into play. I think I'm just gonna do maybe like a horseshoe shaped bracket that will come down with maybe studs that bolt from the backside, I'm thinking, or whatever, to do Troy's piece on, and then he'll have to have a slot cut out of it or something. I'm not 100% sure yet. I guess I'm about to start making them pieces, maybe measure out and make the top piece, and maybe start tooling around with the lever idea. We will be having to add a key to this. Now, originally it was right here, but if we get rid of this piece like we talked about, because I might need a little bit more slope, then we'd have to move the key either to here. That's the reason why I went ahead and did these flat, or to here. This also gives me some flat area that if I need to mount anything, I'm not quite sure where we're gonna go yet. that we have it available. But it's so small that by the time you add this piece that's going to scrunch this leather piece in here, you know, it's going to go over to here. It's just going to leave a little area. It's going to go over to here. It's just going to leave that little area right there. It's not going to be that big of a deal at all. So I don't see no reason to get much more fancier than this. And with it being slotted, hopefully the dash will still just pull straight up once you disconnect all of this. With this being so clean, the dash is not going to come out quite as fast as I want it to, but you should be able to have the dash out in 15 minutes if you need to work underneath it, because that's always been my plan from the start, is to make sure the dash is easily removable. To make this bracket, I'm just going to use a little bit of house wire, and we're just going to start bending it up into the shape I need. That way I can then turn this into a piece off of the plasma table. Guess we should probably stay like square. This is basically the easiest way to do it. Wider than that. So with Fusion 360, I can just take a picture of whatever I'm working on and put it into the computer off of a picture. So as long as I have a picture of this wire, like if I take a picture of this wire laying down flat, then it's super easy to turn that picture into a workable design. All right, so I spent a lot of time dialing this thing in this past week and working on this thing, and I think we finally got it. That cut looked really freaking good. Move this thing out the way. Man, look, it literally just dropped that bad boy right out of there. Holy crap. Before we had, you know, some roughness on the edges and some cleanup that we had to do. Look at that. Wow. That cut, God, dude, that's amazing. My pierce is not quite right on there, but it'll be all right for what we're doing with this one. I think it's just too hot. Pierced it too close to the line. Wow. So these are the little brackets for the steering column. It's Friday afternoon, or Friday morning, Friday afternoon. It's not even 8 o'clock yet at the shop. And I'm just getting a couple things cut for the weekend. All right, so here is what we ended up with on our piece. So our piece is on here. This is the piece that we cut out, which is cut on the plasma cutter. So this is gonna go basically like this. We're gonna tab it off right here using these two little screws, and that's gonna float behind this piece. So if we put this on, and put this on, this right here is going to just float back here like this basically, and then the actual steering wheel will turn, but this piece will be mounted to this, which also moves up and down, so it will be attached to the column to cover all this up when Troy does the upholstery work. And he'll have to build this out of base, or build something basically looks like a shifter boot for this. Now this piece right here is going to go down around it like that. All right, I just got to cut it back to the correct length, and it will get mounted to the dash somehow. Not 100% sure yet. I think I'm gonna use studs, little studs, bolt through that. And then he can upholster off of this a shifter boot, and that's how we can attach it to the dash.
When you're building pieces like this, it's not just about how they'll look in the end, it's about how they'll work. You want something that's easy to install, simple to service, and built with future maintenance in mind. And here's the thing, these small details often take just as much time to plan as they do to actually build. Slow down, think it through, and you'll end up with a result that not only works flawlessly, but looks spot on.
Now to get these holes on the top of this, the layout, I mean, yeah, you can measure it, but I literally just took this piece of paper, butted it up against the back of that because I know I want to be shorter than that, and then just took my dirty hands and pressed down really hard, and that leaves you the imprint of where the holes are. Now we can take this to the workbench up here, cut it, turn this into a bracket shape. I don't think I'm gonna plasma cut it because it's so small. And I don't feel like driving all the way to the shop to plasma cut such a small piece. But that's definitely a good way to get it. I kind of do want to plasma cut it because I kind of want to put adjustment pieces in here so it can slide forward and backwards for the width of the material and how close it wants to sit up against it. Maybe we should do that. Let's just draw this out, and then we will cut it on the plasma table with adjustment in it. So we'll hold off on this little round, the last little round piece maybe. All right, so we got a new thing in the garage I want to show you real fast. We're taking apart the old workbench, and I want to point out one thing, that if you've ever thought about in your garage going wooden workbench versus steel workbench, here's something you should think of. Now this thing that's over here, I'm gonna show you when we're all done and it's in spot, but real fast. But one thing I learned with the wooden, I'm gonna go over a lot, but I'm gonna go over a couple things, is that it holds dirt and dust. So because of all the cracks in the wood, it's hard to get it out. Even if you sweep it, it's still down in there and it holds dirt and dust. That's definitely something you should think about if you're thinking about building wood workbench for your shop. When I built this was a test. If you recall with the comment videos, I had never had a workbench, a big one, a fab table. Let's call it a fab table because that's really what it is. When we did the comment, we did the whole comment without a fab table. And I wanted to throw together this wooden one. It was free to test it to see if in this space, if a fab table was beneficial to us or if it was just gonna be too big and in the way. One thing I did learn is to do what we're doing, you have to have some sort of fabrication table. All right, look at this. We were able to, let's see here, snag this picture. Let's see where I'm at, 0.25. Sorry, trying to get the fillet right on the edge. So we were able to snag this picture off of the Amazon listing. All right, so we ordered the casters for the workbench. I want to show you this real fast. We snagged the measurement picture off of Amazon, imported it into Fusion 360 using the canvas feature. It's up here. I kind of showed you the video where I learned all that from in the last video. And now we're gonna be able to go to the shop and plasma cut this bracket. This little area right here is the table leg, so we'll be able to weld this to there, and then we should be able to just bolt our casters straight to it. So if a caster messed up on this one, it'll be easy to service and to get to the bolts, whereas the last table, the casters were screwed from the bottom and it was hard to service them. This way, should be very easy to replace the caster if they mess up. Boy, you can't get closer than that. I'll let this thing cool down for a second. Let the airflow stop. Look at that. So I was trying to use up some of the scrap. I miscut that one, but I rolled with it. This one didn't cut all the way through. I had to slow down my cut speed again, but I'm gonna just cut that out with a cutoff wheel because the holes are cut. And then this one, I was gonna be done with this piece of metal, but I said, you know what? No. I said, we can get 3 bolts in and put a washer on that one. We still got the center to weld to. I was like, we're gonna use this scrap metal. Metal is so freaking expensive right now that I'm not even trying to waste any freaking metal. Well, would you look at that? Finally got something right. Going off of Amazon's photos, and that bad boy lines right up like it's supposed to. Well, if I could do this one-handed. Anyway, I checked it, and it lines up freaking perfect. These are the wheels we got off of Amazon. They're supposed to be good for 2,200 pounds. Don't know if I believe that. They do got a nice bearing on the inside of them, it looks like. They're non-scarring wheels, soft, so I mean that's I don't really care in here, but at one point we will redo this floor. This floor used to be able to walk out here with white socks before I started this stupid metal fab. Back when I had the Comet and we were just bolting on stuff, it wasn't that bad, but these should be nice wheels that hopefully last. These were the ones that I had on the last bench. These are from Harbor Freight, And as you could tell, they're just cheaper looking. Like I don't even see a bearing really inside the actual wheel. I mean, there's probably something in there, but on this one, I can see the bearing right there. And these were cheaper than these, I think. I think these were probably $6.99 or $11.99 or something each. $9.99. They were somewhere in that ballpark, $12 to $8 probably. And they were supposed to be like a little bit better rating. Does it say it on there? Let's see here. It does, a 200-pound capacity. So I took that as 200 times 4, which would be 800 pounds. I don't feel like our last wooden workbench was 800 pounds, but within no time it did this. And all the bearings fell out, the wheel bent over, and it was just complete garbage. So we were literally just dragging one of these wheels, and that is one of the reasons why I wanted to change. And being these were screwed from the bottom upwards, I couldn't access them easily without flipping the workbench over. So that's why on this one, I was like, definitely want to make it so that I can easily just change these out if they need to be serviced. So this is the basic setup of the new fab table. As you can see, it looks way smaller. It's on wheels. You can get it off the wall. It does have these 2 spots that are cut out that I need to do something with. I always use this with a magnet under here to catch drill shavings. So I just sat it right there, and the other end I just have a solid piece of 1/2-inch plate. I like this 1/2-inch plate because when you're trying to do something really precise, this plate is freaking straight as crap. Bought this used for $100. Now this whole top was painted blue, and I did have to strip it down because the whole point is this blue right here. The whole point of having a fab table is to be able to clamp, a welding clamp to it. So all of these 3 sides are completely grinded down. I can clamp, welding clamp anywhere and just weld right on the table. So that's the reason why we wanted to do this. Easy storage for all of our clamps on the side, and we were able to repurpose that toolbox that we pulled out into here. So we took the wheels off and fabbed it into here. We used some of our 90 pieces to build a tray for all of our poster board. And then now inside all of our drawers, we just have all fabrication stuff. Even this drawer down here, which is really heavy, we have some old winch rollers. So I'm going to use these for pipe. You know how if you're trying to weld like intercooler pipe and you want it to rotate, I saved these off of an old winch for that. And then we got the vise and the bead roll pieces down here and everything. The very bottom cabinet, we're going to put all the grinders, cutters, welding basket, or welding towel or cover. This is just sitting here, so it's not bolted down, but it can be turned on. So if you need to sharpen the tungsten on for TIG, you can turn it on, plug it in and turn it on. It will work. I need to plug it in. I just ain't ran it yet. Bolted the vise down. We were able to put the chop saw under here. If you've been watching in the previous videos, the chop saw has been sitting on the floor, so now it is under there. It can easily be grabbed and put on top of the table. Coming back here on the back, put a power strip in here where I can plug that in, and we also put this on. So this has been shoved in the back of the table. You've probably never even seen it because I've barely used it. Don't feel like dragging it out, but now it's super easy where you just flip a switch and we can use that for sharpening tungstens or whatever. And I'm going to replace this wire wheel. Believe it or not, we now have a smaller footprint, but more storage. I think this is going to be more workroom though, even though it's smaller footprint, because if you notice in all the videos, it might have bothered you, is the back half of the table was always cluttered with junk. Since it was against the wall all the time and it couldn't really come off the wall because it was hard, it collected junk. So now if we keep everything off, then we have the same work square footage that we were utilizing there, plus actually a couple of inches, because we can go all the way to that side. And now we can work 360 around this table. We could pull it out and lay a big sheet over it and work all the way around it. Whereas before, we only had one-sided. So I could work right here, but because of this welder, I couldn't really get to this side. And then because of the vise and the drill press, I couldn't really do anything on that side. So I'm super stoked with this. This thing is just freaking nice. All right, so for our finished product, this is gonna be perfect. We have our square piece right here, which is not bolted. And it's just got one bolt on the other side. I'm not gonna put all the bolts on it. What you'll do is you'll have this undone. You'll slide this all the way up to about right here so you can get to these 2 bolts. You'll put these bolts in. They have the slotted tabs in them so you can space this thing on and off the steering wheel. Now it's not perfectly fine-tuned right now. I've bent it where it's close, but it needs to be fine-tuned once the material's on there. And you'll bolt this side in, and then you'll scrunchie it down and bolt the bottom in, and then that steering shaft will be completely covered with whatever material we choose, whether it's leather, or whatever, and you won't see it. And you don't really see much of that down there. We'll paint all that. Our pedals are done down there. They look amazing. They feel amazing. Everything just turned out phenomenal on this steering column. So super, super, super happy that I chose to go this route, and I did not order an I Did It steering column. I highly encourage anybody who's trying to do something like this to go check your local pick and pull, your local junkyard. You know, think outside the box, grab a steering column, cut it up, make it work. Again, this was out the Ford Explorer, and it worked amazing. Being able to use the shaft, being able to use the factory rubber piece for the firewall to pass it through, Astrovan pedals with a custom made pedal on the plasma cutter. And I mean, overall, like, dude, I have no complaints of this at all. And I'm in my pedal setup and my steering wheel setup way cheaper than most people are on hot rods. And that means that when we go to sell this thing, it's gonna be pay me more money in my pocket.